Okay, let's get back now to the primary in New Hampshire tomorrow. It's kind of, as we've been saying, it's seen now as a two-person race, right? Trump and Haley, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. DeSantis is out. And we have a former rival for the nomination putting his support behind Haley, and the former governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. Governor Hutchinson joins us once again. We thank you for joining us. So you're for Haley, and it's been interesting to watch the last few days. All these other Republicans line up behind Donald Trump, the Tim Scotts of the world, and so many more. I mean, what's going on in the party right now? So many people, and Nancy Mace, who was about as anti-Trump as a Republican could be after January 6th, they're lining up behind Trump.
Well, it's actually very disappointing whenever you look at those that understood the risk that happened to our country on January 6th, now lining up for Donald Trump. Tim Scott was disappointing, calling Donald Trump somebody that can unite our country, which is just, I'm not even sure anyone actually believes that. And so that's disappointing. And it's also a little bit of a factor because Donald Trump threatens people that you could have a primary contest or I'm going to come after you. And so they're marshaling the forces there. I think it's important, my endorsement of Nikki Haley. She's gotten stronger and stronger as this campaign has gone on. She has eliminated every other candidate except for Donald Trump. She's focused on him, got a clear message, and is getting stronger every day.
Okay, so she goes in, and it's still an uphill battle for her, at least according to the data that we have. A lot of people think she has to win outright in New Hampshire against Trump. But, you know, what's your argument to those people you were just talking about? Because interesting, like Chris Sununu, for example, we've had him on the show as well, the governor of New Hampshire. He's for Haley, like you are. But if you pin him down, you ask him, he says, well, if Trump's the nominee, I'll support the nominee. And so what's your argument? Are you arguing that Trump is too dangerous to become president again? In other words, we can't have that, and I won't support him? Or if he wins, would you support him as well?
Well, I was on the debate stage. I was one of the few candidates that said I would not support Donald Trump if he's a convicted felon.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that can happen between now and the nomination. That's one of the reasons that I am so vigorously supporting Nikki Haley.
But you might support him, Governor, if he's not?
Last best alternative. No, I hope to support the nominee of the party, and I hope it's not Donald Trump. I'll save the rest for later. I've simply said I'm not going to support a convicted felon. Beyond that, I'm going to work hard to make sure we have somebody that can win in November. So let's wait and see how that plays out. There's a lot of facts that are still to be determined here. What's important is that Ambassador Haley looks at New Hampshire, but you got to look long term. This is going to be a longer race than everybody expects. It's going to lead into the spring. And we need Nikki Haley to stay in there long term. You need her to stay in there long term, even if she's trailing. You're saying in case Trump can't be the nominee? Is that the argument? For some reason, you know? Is that what you're saying? Well, that's one of the arguments, but Donald Trump, it's critical to his success that he wraps this up early. Right. That's why he's working so hard on it. He might look strong today, but he's not going to look as strong in March and in April and in May. And so the American people and the Republicans are going to figure out we need to shift to a different direction, and we need an alternative there. Absolutely, it's the trials, but it's also just the awareness that he's a damaged candidate that can't win in November. And so Nikki Haley needs to stay in there as the American people start absorbing that recognition and that risk that we take. Can I ask you a question about fitness for office, not just on the, you know, what President Trump's been accused of, but Nikki Haley now, and we've talked about this already with the incumbent President Joe Biden. We've done a number of segments, you know, about his age, and it's obviously something that people are concerned about. But now there was this odd moment over the weekend where Trump was speaking, clearly got Haley confused with Nancy Pelosi. We're talking about January 6th, and it was strange, but he went on, and then Nikki Haley responded by saying this about that. Let's listen to Ambassador Haley for a moment.
Trump goes on and on, multiple times, saying that I prevented the security on January 6th at the Capitol. I wasn't even anywhere near the Capitol. I wasn't in office. He said it over and over again. The reality is he was confused. He was confused the same way he said Joe Biden was going to start World War II.
So you know, I know you have issues with Trump's behavior, and you know his, we've talked in the past about all the things he's been accused of. But is he up to the task mentally?
Well, that really showcases a risk there. Not only is he confused, as Ambassador Haley says, but it also points up that all he wants to do is talk about the past and January 6th. Why are we talking about January 6th whenever we're looking at a presidential campaign? So one, he's confused, and that should be alarming. But then secondly, why in the world is he focusing on January 6th? The American public are worried about the economy, worried about border security. And so there's a lot more there, and I'm glad Ambassador Haley is calling him out on that.
So final thing, can Haley win this tomorrow? And if she doesn't win it, you're saying she stays in no matter what. You don't look at it as she needs to be close? Because what would the path be, other than, as you said earlier, maybe hoping that Trump's not as strong of a candidate down the line? Is that the argument?
I don't think she has to win. I think she has to show strength in New Hampshire. Donald Trump needs to be below 50%.
Okay.
That's the key for making sure we can continue that race. Those are hard combinations, but that to me should be the objective. And she should be able to pick up momentum as long as the donors stay there, make sure they continue to support and don't fold in to Donald Trump.
All right. He was above 50 in the Iowa caucuses. We'll see where it comes in tomorrow in the first primary in New Hampshire. Governor Hutchinson, thank you, sir, once again for coming on. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.